This conference will now be recorded.
So now we'll see how to implement the Queueable interface in order to avoid the drawbacks available inside the future methods that we have discussed. We have three major drawbacks available inside the future methods. Future methods does not support to supply S-object type of parameters. When you try to pass some parameters to the future methods will allow you to supply only primitive type of parameters and then arrays of primitive and the collection of primitive elements. But we can't supply S-object type of parameters, we can't supply apex type of parameters, we can't supply user different types of parameters, okay, to that future method. It won't supply. But there is an alternative mechanism. How? Yesterday we have discussed passing ID, okay? Then instead of using that ID, any other alternative? Right. Yesterday we have discussed we can go with that serialization mechanism and then deserialization mechanism by using JSON parser classes. Yesterday we have discussed how can we serialize the content by using the JSON.serialize method. How can we deserialize the content by using JSON.deserialize method? Yesterday we have discussed. Okay. Even though future method does not supporting to supply the S-object type of parameters, there is an alternative mechanism through which we can achieve this. But instead of passing the complete S-object type of record, that means your Salesforce record, just we can pass the record ID itself. ID is a primitive type. So we can supply the primitive type of elements to the future methods. So that we can pass the ID. Based on that ID, we can able to make some SQL queries and we can get the records. So that here Salesforce is enhancing the facilities of executing the SQL queries up to 200 inside the future methods. Generally, we are having that maximum of 100 SQL queries per transaction, but as part of future methods, we are having that enhanced facility that we can use 200 SQL queries. And along with that, one more alternative mechanism that we can able to use the JSON parser classes. By using the JSON parser classes, we can able to parse the content. That means we can able to serialize, we can able to deserialize. That means converting the S-object type of parameter to string type, and then reverse process of that serialization is called as deserialization. That means here we can convert from string to S-object type. We can convert by using the deserialize method. Yesterday we did practical also. That is one of the major drawbacks that we have as part of this future method. The second drawback is when coming to the future methods does not support the chaining process. Chaining process in the sense what? Okay. One future method cannot be invocable from another future. Okay. Even though you may be having multiple future methods inside a class, which is having some different business logics, if you want to make it as a chaining process, that means one future method has to invoke another one. But that possibility is not available in Salesforce. Salesforce doesn't support to use chaining process in the future methods. Now, that is the second major problem. The third one is future method does not provide any tracking mechanism to programming. That means what? It won't return ID. Because whenever I'm going to be invoking the future method is executing by from where? Within the organization or outside the organization? Outside the organization. How? By placing where? Apex queue. Okay, inside the Apex queue, it will be placing that as a new job that will be executing from there itself. So at that time, whenever I'm placing any element or any job inside the queue, will the queue will be allocating one ID or not? Yes. Will you get the ID of that future method? No. Because whenever I'm going to be executing the future method is placing inside that Apex queue will allocate one job ID, but that job ID we can't get it through programming. So without that job ID, we can't get the status of that job through programming. That is one of the problems. If you want to track that, if you want to verify the status of the future method, that means whether that future method has been executed or not properly. So we have to go to the monitor section. In that monitor, we have to cross-check whether the future method has been executed or not. Then only we came to know whether the future method has been executed successfully or whether it has been failed, what is the reason, everything we can track. But through programmatically, there is no such possibilities. These are the three major drawbacks, okay, or impediments that we have as part of this future methods. To avoid all these drawbacks, we are using the help of queueable interface, that is also called as queueable Apex. So by using this queueable interface, we can able to avoid all these drawbacks. It's an enhanced facility of future methods. For the future methods, we are having an enhancement. That means there is an extendability feature is available that is called as queueable interface. As of now, we are just pushing one method into the queue. Okay, we are just pushing one method into the queue. With the help of this queueable interface, we can push a complete class into the queue also. There is a possibility. There is a possibility that we can able to push the complete class into the queue so that the whole class will be executing by placing inside the queue itself. That means there is some similarity, because there is some similarity between future method and queueable interface. Queueable interface is also executing by placing inside the queue. Future method is also placing inside the queue only. That means both are executing by placing inside the queue only. Okay, but when coming to the functionalities, it will be some differences available. Okay, now when coming to the queueable interface is also executing by placing inside the queue only. It will be placing inside the Apex queue. From there, it will be start executed whenever the Salesforce resources becomes available. Now, in this case, the future method is having some drawbacks are available. So, what are the drawbacks that we have? All these drawbacks we can overcome inside the queueable interface. Queueable interface will be allows you to support a subject type of parameters also. Not only primitive type of elements, yes, object type of elements also we can supply to the queueable interface class. Second one, when coming to the future methods, chaining process will not be applicable. That means we can't invoke one future method from another future method. But when coming to the queueable interface, it is giving the facility to you that one queueable class can invoke another queueable class also. Okay, the first queueable class can invoke second one can invoke third one can invoke fourth one. Like that, we can able to apply chaining processes available. Next, the third benefit is when coming to the queueable interface is going to be providing the tracking mechanism through programming. That means what? Whenever I'm pushing a queueable class into the queue, it will be returning that ID. That means here once that queueable class has been placed inside the queue will be allocating one ID. That ID will be returned to you. So we can get that ID. Based on the ID, we can able to track the result of a queueable class through programming with the help of async Apex job object. From the async Apex job object, we can able to track the result of a queueable class. It may be your batch classes also, it may be scheduled classes also, it may be future methods also, it may be your queueable classes also. All these classes, all these jobs results will be storing inside the async Apex job object only. In async Apex job object, it will be storing the results of all your batch classes, scheduled classes, future methods, queueable classes. All these jobs results will be storing inside the same object called as async Apex job object. Okay, from there we can able to get the result and we can able to track the result of our queueable class also through programming. That possibility is available as part of this queueable. So in this case, how can we implement that queueable class? What kind of interfaces we have to use? And then what are the steps we need to follow? How to push this class into the queue? Now let's see practically in this case. Okay. So now, whenever if you want to implement the queueable class, you have to follow some certain steps. Okay. So whenever if you want to use that queueable class, we have to follow some certain steps. Now let's see practically one by one. Now, as a step one. Prepare a global class which should be implemented by an interface called as Queueable. Queueable is a standard interface. Okay, Queueable is a standard interface which has been given by Salesforce. Okay, which gives the abilities to you that we can able to push your complete class functionality to be executing by placing inside the queue itself. No need to execute within your organization. We can able to execute from by placing inside that queue, which will be the outside of your organization. Now, so that we need to prepare a class. Okay, we need to prepare a global class which should be implemented by an interface called as Queueable. How to implement an interface, from the batch classes keep on we are utilizing that here. Now, so let me give you the syntax. Global class name implements Queueable. Global class name implements Queueable. Now tell me, whenever I'm implementing an interface inside my class, then what will be the principle of object-oriented programming? We have to, we have to provide the implementation for those methods inside that. That means what? Implement. That means I'm going to be providing the indication to the Salesforce. So this is the interface which is required for me as part of my business logic. I would like to use this interface inside my class. So in this interface, it is having so many methods which are not having any implementation. Now I am going to be providing the implementation for that method, into my class. So that here I'm indicating that with the help of that keyword implements, that means this class is going to be providing the implementation for the methods of Queueable class, Queueable interface. Okay, now. So in this case, when coming to that Queueable interface, it is having one standard method. Okay, Queueable interface is having one standard method is available that is called as execute. Execute is the standard method which we are having inside that Queueable interface. Now, so that we need to provide the implementation for that execute method. Provide the implementation for the interface method. Now, Queueable interface contains a method called as execute. It is having a method called as execute. For this method, we need to provide the implementation. Now let's see the syntactical part. We need to provide the implementation. Global void execute. It is having a parameter called as queueable context. Like as batchable context, schedulable context, we are having a class called as queueable context will be the parameter of this execution. Here we have to write the business logic. Is the second step. First of all, we have to implement the interface into your class, and then as part of object-oriented programming principles, whenever you are implementing any interface into the class, that means if you are using any interface into the class, interface contains some standard methods, which doesn't have any implementation part, which is not having any body of that method. So we have to provide the implementation for those methods inside this class. That's what I'm using the keyword implement. That means this is the class which is going to be providing the implementation for the methods of this Queueable class, Queueable interface. Until or unless you are not providing the implementation for those interface methods, your class code will not be get compiled, your class code will not be storing into the metadata repository. Okay. Now, step 3. So once the class is ready, once the Queueable class is ready, then how can we push this class into the queue? What is that method we need to use to push that class into the queue? System.enqueueJob. Okay. So now once the class is ready with the required implementation, with the required business logic, then we need to push that class into the queue. For that one, we have to use a method called system.enqueueJob. Enqueue means what? Here we are going to pushing into the queue. Enqueue means just we can place inside the queue. Now, push the Queueable class into the Apex queue by using system.enqueueJob. By using system.enqueueJob syntax. System.enqueueJob, we can specify the queueable class name. Queueable class. Whatever the queueable class that you have prepared, you have to specify the queueable class name. That means you have to pass it as a constructor. Now, what it returns to you now? ID, right? That is returning the job ID. Now, make it. Upon placing the queueable class inside the queue, it returns the ID of the job. It returns the ID of the job. Next one. Step 4. Now with this ID, what we can do? Track the status. Track the status of that job. Track the status of the queueable class from the object. What is that object name? Async Apex job object. The syntax. Async Apex job, some job details equals to, I need to fetch that. Now tell me what are the columns are available. Okay. Total job items. Job items processed. Okay. Created by dot email. From async Apex job, where ID equals to, we can able to specify that job ID. Whatever the job ID we have received, based on that job ID, we can able to collect that information. So now tell me, this is the only mechanism to track the result of my queueable class, or do we have any other alternative? Standard navigation also, right? Okay. As an alternative mechanism, we can able to track the result from that monitor option also. From the monitor. You can go to the setup menu, go to the monitor, jobs, Apex jobs. These are the 4 steps we have to follow whenever we are going to be preparing the queueable interface. Okay. So let's see a practical example. In that example, I will show you how can we prepare the Queueable class, and then I will show you how can we apply the chaining process, and I will show you how to pass a subject type of parameters also, how to track the result, okay, through programming. Okay, all these three features we'll see in a single example itself. Done? Done with these steps? Now. So now let's see the practical part. Let's see. Let me explain the requirement first, then we'll see the implementation part. Now, I want to create two Queueable classes. Okay, I want to create two Queueable classes. Through these two Queueable classes, okay, I want to create the records inside that. Now, I'm having two objects, hiring manager object, and the second one is I'm having the position object. Okay, I'm having the hiring manager object and then position object. Now, so now my requirement is I want to create a hiring manager record along with the associated position record also. That means I want to create two records. One is hiring manager, second one is position. These two should not be independent. These two records should be associated. Hiring manager record will be the parent and then position record will be the child. I want to, both should be associated. So I need to write that code, but the complete code I don't want to write inside a single Queueable class. Now this is a two records creation code. I want to segregate into two separate Queueable classes. By using the hiring manager one Queueable class, I want to create the hiring manager record, and then by using another Queueable class, I want to prepare that position record. But in this case, I'm having two separate Queueable classes available. For example, for this one, I want to use hiring manager Queueable. And for this one, I want to use a separate class called as position Queueable. Two separate classes I would like to prepare. Okay, two separate classes I would like to prepare. So now this is the hiring manager Queueable is a separate class. In this class, I'm preparing the hiring manager record. And then position Queueable is a separate class. Okay, through this one, I want to create the position record. But I don't want to make it as independent. I want to make it as related. So in this case, what needs to be done? Once the hiring manager record has been created successfully, immediately I would like to invoke that position Queueable class. Observe the things here. That means I want to make it as a chaining process. Okay, I want to make it as a chaining process in this case. So as soon as whenever this hiring manager Queueable class has been invoked, once it has been created the hiring manager record, immediately it has to invoke that position Queueable class also. That means chaining here. And then I want to go with one more level. Okay, now I am going to be having one more object that is called as candidate object. I want to create a candidate record which is related to a position. So for this one, I would like to have one more Queueable class that is called as candidate Queueable. So three Queueable classes I would like to create right now. One is hiring manager Queueable class, which will be creating the hiring manager record. Position Queueable class, which will be creating the position record. Candidate Queueable class, which is creating the candidate record right now. So now these three classes will be I would like to use three separate classes. But now I want to implement the chaining process in between this. Because future methods are not supporting the chaining process here, but I want to allow the chaining process between the Queueable because Queueable class will support. So I want to achieve that the Queueable classes as part of chaining process. Now let's see, as soon as whenever the hiring manager Queueable class has been invoked, immediately I want to invoke the position Queueable, which has to create the position record. Upon creating the position record, okay, I don't want to make this position as independent. Whatever the hiring manager record is available, this is a complete hiring manager record details I would like to supply. Whatever the HR record has been getting created, I want to supply this complete HR record information, okay, to my position Queueable class. Okay, I would like to pass this values. So whatever the HR record information is available, that HR record information I want to pass to the position queuable class. Based on this HR record information, it is creating the respective position record. See, here not only I'm making it a chaining process, I'm going to be making it a passing a subject type of parameter also. Complete HR record I want to pass, not only the ID, complete HR record I want to pass. Okay, so that it should receive the complete HR record. HR record means what? So which is one of my subject type of element. A subject type of parameter I would like to supply. But in this case, future method won't support these kind of functionalities. But Queueable will support. Okay. Now, so that I would like to invoke that position Queueable. Position Queueable class will be receiving the complete HR record information. Based on this HR record, it has to create the position record. That means related position record. Once the position record has been getting created successfully, it has to invoke the candidate's Queueable class. So it has to create the candidate's Queueable class also. Now in this case, what needs to be done? By using this position Queueable class, I am going to be creating a position record. Okay, I am creating a position record. So whatever the position record we have created, okay, whatever the position record we have created. Now, the position record I would like to supply. Okay, the position record I would like to supply. To whom I would like to supply this position record to my candidate's Queueable class. Now, my candidate's Queueable class will be receiving this position record completely. Based on this position record, it has to create the associated candidate record. Okay, clear? Now, in this case here, as soon as whenever the hiring manager Queueable class has been invoked, immediately it has to invoke the position Queueable. Once the position Queueable has been done, it has to invoke the candidate Queueable. That means chaining process I want to apply. That is the first thing. Second one, once the hiring manager Queueable class has been invoked, once it has been done with that creating the hiring manager record, it has to supply the complete HR record to my position Queueable. So that I'm passing a subject type of parameter. From there, once the position Queueable has been creating the position record successfully, I want to pass the position record to the candidate's Queueable so that it can able to create the respective candidate record also. That means here also I'm passing that a subject type of parameters. Okay, two things I'm achieving. Next, the third one. Now, once the hiring manager Queueable has been getting invoked, once it has been done, then it has to invoke the positions Queueable. Now, once the positions Queueable has been executed, I want to get the status of this position Queueable also. So I would like to add the tracking mechanism by using the async apex job object inside this. So once the position Queueable has been done, it will be invoking the candidate's Queueable also. Now I want to allocate a tracking mechanism on the candidate's Queueable to verify whether the candidate record has been created or not. So that I want to use the tracking mechanism also through programming inside this. Okay. So now these three functionalities I want to achieve by using this single use case. Okay. Clear? Understood the requirement? Or any confusions? Any queries? Understood this one? Say yes or no. Yes. Okay. So now let's see the implementation. Take a small use case. Configure the Queueable jobs. Configure the Queueable jobs to create the hiring manager record and an associated position record and an associated candidate records by using three Queueable interface classes. Inside. Implement the chaining process. To invoke the Queueable classes. supply the subject type of parameter to the queueable class. Track the result of each queueable class by using async apex job. By using async apex job object. Done with this use case? Now. So let's go with the practical part. So I'm creating the queueable classes. How many queueable classes that we need to create now? 3. Okay. Now I'm creating the queueable classes. First one is the hiring manager queueable helper. Okay. Our hiring manager queueable utility. I'm creating a class with the name hiring manager queueable utility. Now make the class global. Next. Implements queueable. Or else you can use system.queueable also. Okay. System.queueable. Because directly we can use queueable, or else you can use system.queueable. Because system is the namespace in which we are having the queueable interface classes on. Now, just whenever I'm implementing that system.queueable, it is indicating the error message to me. Okay, it is indicating the error message. Why this error message is coming over here? We haven't provided implementation for the execute method. So now suppose, for example, if you don't know what methods are available inside the interface, simply implement that interface inside that class. It will be indicating to you what methods are available inside. Now it is indicating clearly. Now class hiring manager queueable utility must implement the method system.queueable.execute. There is a method called as execute method which is having a parameter queueable context. So now this is the method is available here for which we need to provide the implementation part. Now here I am providing the implementation. Now global void execute. So what is the parameter in this case? Queueable context. Okay, queue context. Okay, queueable context. Now here I am ready with that class. Now I need to prepare. Inside this one, what we need to do? What is the use of the hiring manager queueable utility class? to create the hiring manager record. How to create the hiring manager record? You know that. Okay. Now tell me the code. I'm creating the object of that hiring manager class. Hiring manager, some HR equals to new hiring manager. Okay. I'm creating the object of this hiring manager class, and then I need to supply the value for the required fields. HR dot name. I'm supplying the value that as hiring manager queueable. Have some name we can specify. Sampat. Some Sampat Kumar. HR dot location. I'm indicating like as some Bangalore. HR dot contact number. I'm passing the value. HR dot email ID. Sampat at the rate some gmail.com. Do we have any PAN number field? No, no PAN number field. Okay. Now directly I'm inserting. Insert HR. Okay. My HR record has been created successfully. That means hiring manager record has been created successfully. Now tell me what we can do next. Create that another class. Okay, another queueable class in order to create that position record, related position. So now here I'm indicating. Go to the file menu, create one more queueable class. Position queueable utility. Okay. I'm creating one more class with the name position queueable utility. Now tell me what we can do. Same story again. Implements system dot queueable. Global wide queueable context. Here what we do? Create the position record. Now tell me how can we create the position record? Position underscore underscore C, some POS equals to position. I'm creating the object position class, and I would like to supply the values also. Now supplying the values. Position dot name. I'm indicating the position like as some Salesforce architect. Position dot location. Now I want to give the same location like as hiring manager location. How can we get it? HR dot location directly will get a HR is available where? In the another queueable class. How can we get it? What we can do? Okay. How can we pass? Okay. How can we call that class now? So this is the position queueable utility class. Okay, here I want the hiring manager's details because between the position and the hiring manager we have mapped some lookup filters. Okay, we have mapped some lookup filters where the location values would be same. For hiring manager, what location how given I don't know. I want exact same location for this position also because we have prepared that lookup filter between the position and the hiring manager where hiring manager location, position location should be exactly similar.
So we have to pass ID. We have to pass ID.
Which ID? I don't want to pass ID, I want a complete record. In this case here, inside the position queueable, I am going to preparing one constructor. Okay, I'm preparing a constructor. Public, I'm preparing a constructor. Okay, I'm preparing a constructor. In this constructor, I would like to prepare a parameter called as hiring manager. I would like to have that hiring manager parameter. Why? Because is whenever if you want to invoke, okay, whenever if you want to invoke, okay, this particular positions queueable class, how can we invoke the queueable classes here? In order to invoke the queueable class, we have to use a parameter syntax called as system dot enqueue job. Okay, system dot enqueue job, and then in that we have to specify new the queueable class name. Okay, queueable class. So this is not a method to invoke directly. This is a class. Complete class will be pushing into the queue. Okay, complete class is pushing into the queue. So that here we have to invoke this complete queueable class. Okay, we have to prepare the complete queueable class you can invoke, okay, with the help of enqueue job. So from this hiring manager queueable, okay, if you want to invoke, that means here as soon as my hiring manager record has been created successfully, then immediately I want to invoke the position queueable class. How can we invoke this position queueable class? Here, after inserting this HR record, invoke that. That means chaining process. Invoke the position queueable. That means chaining process. Now, how can we invoke the position queueable? System dot enqueue job. Okay, enqueue job of what? Now let's see. Whenever you are observing the syntax itself, system dot enqueue job. In this case, it is going to be returning. Specify that affects the queueable class name. Whenever you're passing the queueable class name, it is returning the ID as a return type to you. Whatever the ID will be allocating by that affects queue, that ID will be returning to you as a return type. So now here I'm using that enqueue job. Which class you are going to be pushing into the queue right now? Position queueable. How can we specify? Simply you can specify new position queueable utility. Okay, this is the position queueable utility. Then in this case, what happens? Simply it is going to be invoking the position queueable utility here. But what I need to do upon creating the position record, I want the HR record also over here. For that one, here I have prepared one constructor called as hiring manager. So I am passing this complete HR record, okay, to this particular position queue. Okay, observe the difference. Observe the concept in this case. I have created a hiring manager record. Once the hiring manager record has been getting created successfully, now this complete HR record information are passing to the position queueable utility. Now the position queueable utility will be receiving the HR record information. From there, we can able to use this inside my execute method. But in this case, the problem is when coming to my HR parameter, see whatever the HR record information I'm supplying here, like a Sambat Kumar HR record details I'm passing to my position queueable utility, it will be coming into the default constructor here. Because you know that this part is invoking bar the constructor. What kind of constructor which is having one parameter of type HR. So that this HR record will be going into the position queueable utility in this particular constructor. This will be coming into this part over. But whatever the HR record is available, this HR record parameter can be accessible up to this block only. But I want this HR parameter in this particular method also. What we can do? In this case, I'm defining one parameter. ID manager HR record. So whatever the HR record is coming into this particular constructor, can I assign this HR parameter into my HR record now? Yes. Now I'm indicating that HR record equals to HR. That means what? I want to use this HR record into my further methods also. Whatever the parameter is coming into my constructor, this can be accessible within this block only. Okay, this will be accessible within this block only. But this HR record parameter I want inside the execute method also. This method is having its own block, so that here we can't access in this place. So in this case, what needs to be done? Whatever the HR record is coming, okay, whatever the HR record I'm supplying, whatever the HR record I'm supplying to this particular positions queueable utility, now it is passing to the constructor. This is the constructor will be getting invoked, which will be collecting my HR record. It is going to placing inside my HR record variable. Now this HR record variable is a class level variable. We can access this variable in the entire class variable we want in all the methods. So that way we can able to access this HR record dot location. We can able to fetch directly. Okay. Got the point here? Or any confusions? Got the clarification? One more time, okay. Now in this case. So in this case, I'm having the HR record, okay. I'm having this HR record. Now this HR record has been created successfully by using this execute method. Once the HR record has been getting created, the whole details are available inside an object called as HR. Now, once the HR record has been created successfully, I am going to be invoking another queueable class which has to create the related position record. Okay, which should be create one related position record. So that we have created another queueable class called as positions queueable utility. This is also a queueable class which can able to place inside the queue from where it has to start executed based on the availability of the Salesforce resources. Now in this case, I want to supply, okay, I want to supply a subject HR parameter because this is the Salesforce object, which is my custom object. I want to pass this complete HR record information to my position queueable because whatever the HR records location, contact number, email ID is available and the ID is available, all the 4 parameters I'm going to be using inside the position record also. So that I don't want to pass simply each and every field value separately. I'm passing the complete record, HR record from my hiring manager queueable to the position queueable. So that I have prepared one constructor inside this position queueable which can able to receive one complete hiring manager record. Okay, which can able to receive one complete hiring manager record. So as soon as whenever I'm going to be invoking this positions queueable utility, I'm passing the complete HR record. I'm not passing the ID. I'm passing the complete HR. HR means for the complete record, which is holding the name value, location value, contact number, email ID, everything will be available inside that. The complete record information I'm passing to my positions queueable is the HR record so that I have prepared one constructor which will be receiving the HR record parameter. Once the complete HR record has been received, now whenever I'm going to be using any parameter inside the method, the parameters of scope will be up to that method only. That means within that block only it can be accessible. Outside of that method, we can't access it over. So in this case, but this HR record I want in this execute method because upon creating the position record, I want to assign the hiring manager record details also here. So I want to access this inside my another method. So that what I did is instead of accessing this one inside my execute method. You can raise the question, sir, why you are passing to that constructor? Why can't you pass here? Because it is a standard method. In the standard method, we can't change the syntaxes here. That will be the fixed one. We can't pass that parameter to this particular execute method. So that I have prepared one constructor. In this constructor, I'm passing the complete HR record parameter. Whatever the HR record is available, I want to make it accessible in the further methods also. Further one in the class level, I have defined one hiring manager record here. In this particular record, I'm placing this information. Whatever the HR record has been received from the hiring manager queueable, the HR record I'm storing inside my HR record variable. Now this HR record variable is available inside the class level. So within the class variable you want, you can able to access. So that I'm accessing from my execute method also. Okay, clear? So now let's see pass the remaining field values for the position record. I'm passing position dot HR email ID. What is that value? HR record dot email ID. I'm collecting from the hiring manager record. I'm passing those values here. You know how to create the related record. All these things you know that's here. Position dot contact number. That means HR contact number. HR record dot contact. Position dot I would like to specify position status. I'm indicating this is a new position. Position date, that number of positions I'm indicating like as 2. Position dot I would like to indicate the open date. I'm indicating system dot today. Position dot milestone date. I'm indicating system dot today dot add days. Add days are from 45. That means from now onwards, 45 days time I'm giving to the HR people to recruit the candidates. Now, after that, position dot minimum pay. We're indicating like as some 11 lakhs. Position dot maximum pay. I'm indicating some 15 lakhs. Position dot I would like to indicate position description. Required 4+ years of experience This is architect position, right? So I'm indicating 14 plus years of experience in Salesforce. Application level. I'm indicating positions that skills required. I'm giving the same information here also. Next, what is the next one? How can we make it associated? Position dot hiring manager. HR dot, what is that person? HR record dot ID. HR record dot. Next one. After that, insert. I'm inserting the position record, right? Okay. Understood the concept here? No. So now here I'm going to be creating a constructor which will be receiving the parameter which is of type hiring manager record from the hiring manager queueable utility class. So now once the record parameter is available, once the HR record is available, I would like to make it as a global inside my class so that in the class level I have defined one hiring manager record parameter. So now in this parameter I'm storing this value so that we can able to access in the entire class wherever you want. So now in this case, I'm creating a position record by passing the values, name of the position record and the location value, email ID, contact number, position status, number of vacancies, open date, milestone date, minimum pay, maximum pay, description, skills required, all the information. Along with that, I'm making the position record to be associated with the hiring. Okay, clear? Now, next one. After that, once the position record is created successfully, what you want to create now? I want to create a related candidate record here. Then what we can do in this case? Another queueable class. Okay, there also the same scenario, same story we are implementing again. So now I would like to create another queueable class. Candidate queueable utility. Okay, candidate queueable utility. I'm indicating that global implements system dot queueable. Okay, system dot queueable. I'm going to be preparing that method here. Global void execute. I'm indicating system dot queueable context. Here I'm creating the candidate record. Now, upon creating the candidate record, I need the position details also. How can we do that? Again, I'm creating a constructor. Public candidate queueable utility, which should be receiving what parameter here? Position record. Here, position underscore underscore C, some PYS. Here I'm going to be preparing one global variable, position underscore underscore C, position record. Position record equals to. That means here I would like to access this position record inside my execute method. So that here I'm passing this position record copy into my POS record variable, which will be a class variable. I can able to access this member from anywhere in the class. Now I'm creating the candidate record right now. Candidate underscore underscore C, some CND equals to new candidate. Now tell me what are the other fields are available as part of this candidate record. CND dot name. I'm indicating like as some Ram Kumar. CND dot location. I want to indicate the position location. Position record dot location. Okay, I'm passing that. Nothing but hiding when the records into that position values I'm passing into my candidate. CND dot years of experience. I'm indicating like as some 14 or some 10, some 14 then. Now, after that, I would like to specify the email ID. I'm indicating the email ID ramk@some gmail.com. CND dot contact number. I'm indicating some value. CND dot I would like to specify the PAN number. CND dot passport number. CND dot qualification. I'm indicating like as some field. CND dot I would like to specify what are the other fields are available inside the position or candidate object. Now qualification, notice period is there, and then location, years of experience, current CTC, expected CTC, and the technical skills. CND dot current CTC. I'm indicating the value some 9 lakhs. CND dot expected CTC some 13 lakhs. CND dot notice period. I'm indicating like as from 1 month. CND dot technical skills. He is having some technical skills. For example, he is having some Apex programming, and then you know that Salesforce CRM, and then you know that Visual Force. How to add these elements now? How to supply? I want to pass these values, three values through programming. How to supply? Multi-select pick list. In multi-select pick list, whatever the elements I have selected, these elements, how these three elements should be storing inside the column technical skills. How these three values will be getting stored. How these three values will be storing inside the technical skills column. Already told you during the fields when the data type is concerned. Separated by that comma, semicolon. What are the three elements you have selected? These three elements are going to be concatenating one by one. They are going to start segregating with the help of a separator called as semicolon. So now we have to specify the value. We have to specify the value Apex semicolon Salesforce CRM Visual Force. So whenever you are going to passing some elements for that multi-select pick list control, specify the elements which you would like to populate by default, and then at that time segregate all the elements by using that separator called as semicolon. That already told you during our starting classes. And then after that, make the candidate to be associated with the position. How can we make the candidate to be associated to the position? Position ID. What we can supply? Position record dot, and then insert the candidate record. Okay, I'm inserting the candidate record, right? So now years of experience is what? So now we have supplied the values for all these parameters. I'm creating a candidate record. Okay, inside my candidates queueable utility class, I'm creating a candidate record by supplying the value. So whenever I'm creating the candidate record, this candidate record should be associated with the respective position record which we have created. Now tell me how to invoke this candidate queuable utility. From where you want to invoke this one? Position queuable. Once the position record has been created successfully, I want to cross check that. If position dot ID not equals to null, that means if the position record has been created successfully, I want to invoke the candidate's queuable. So ID CND job ID equals to, I would like to specify that system dot NQ job new candidate queuable utility. Here what we need to supply now? Complete position record. Whatever the position record we have created, complete position record and supply mode. Once the position record has been getting supplied based on the position record, it is going to be invoking the respective functionality. It will create a candidate record. How can we track the result right now over here? How to track the result? By making a query. Okay. Now we can specify async apex job CND job equals to, I would like to indicate. How can we query that? Select the ID of the job, status, total job items processed, number of errors created by dot email. Okay. From async apex job, where ID equals to CND, okay, CND job. CND job. So based on the ID which has been given by the queue, I'm going to be collecting the status. We can track the status also. Like the similar way, we can able to invoke that the hiring manager queuable also, so the position queuable also. I'm going to be indicating if HR record ID not equals to null. That means if the hiring manager record has been created successfully, I would like to invoke that positions queuable. ID previous job ID. I would like to specify that information. And from there, we can able to track the result of it. The same code we can able to write here also. I'm indicating POS job. POS job. It is a chaining process. Here also I'm working the chaining process. So I'm saving these classes. All the three classes have been saved successfully. So now three queuable classes we have prepared. Okay, hiring manager queuable, position queuable, and the candidate queuable. Now tell me from these three, which I need to invoke now? I need to invoke which one? Hiring manager or position or candidate? Hiring manager. Whenever I'm invoking hiring manager, it will be executed, which internally calls position. Position will be invoked that it will be internally calling that candidate skill. Okay. So let's see how can we invoke this one. Go to the execute anonymous window. I'm invoking this. How can we do that? System dot NQ job new hiring manager queuable utility, which will be returning that ID value. Okay, ID. So now HR job ID. Based on this ID, we can able to track the status also. Okay. So here I don't want to track the status. We can able to track it too with the help of that monitor option itself. I'm not writing that code. So now in this case, I'm going to be invoking that hiring manager queuable utility. So now in order to push that hiring manager queue, okay, hiring manager class into the queue, we are using that system dot NQ job. So where we can specify the name of the class in which you have implemented that system dot queuable interface. So from there, the remaining chaining process will be getting invoked automatically. So before that, let me verify what candidate records are available and the hiring manager records available inside my object. I'm having totally 460 hiring manager records are available here. Now I'm going to be creating the record with the name what? Sampath Kumar. Starting with the character yes. Okay, we don't have any record with the name Sampath Kumar. So let me execute this piece of code. Click on execute. My request has been sent to the server, which will be initiating that hiring manager queueable utility first. It will insert the hiring manager record, and then it will internally invoke that position queueable utility, which will be creating the position record, and that will internally invoking the candidate's queueable utility. Okay. Now let's refresh this user interface. You are having the record called as Sampath Kumar record has been created successfully. We can see that the Sampath Kumar record, it has been created with the details based on the information which you have given. Internally, it is creating one position also that is called a related position record that is called as Salesforce architect position. Whatever the details we have given here, with those details it has created the position record also, which is having the some Salesforce architect position with all the details whatever we have supplied. For this position, it is creating a related candidate record that is called as Ram Kumar. Ram Kumar record also has been created with the details whatever we have indicated. Ram Kumar has been applied for the position that is Salesforce architect position. Okay. So like that here we can able to implement the whole functionality. That means here what we did as part of this implementation, we have prepared 3 queueable classes. Okay, we have prepared 3 queueable classes and we have applied the chaining mechanism between these. And that too we have supplied the subject type of parameters also to these queueable classes here by using that constructors. And then we can able to track the results by using the tracking mechanism which will be written by the ID. Based on the ID, we can able to track that results also. Okay. So whatever the 3 drawbacks are available inside your future method, all the 3 drawbacks you can overcome with the help of queueable interface. Okay. Clear? So these are the 5 concepts that we have as part of asynchronous operation, like batch programming. In that batch programming, we have discussed about that state management, also how to use stateful interface. We have discussed about the scheduling concept. We have discussed about the flex queues also, and then we have discussed about the future methods. We discussed about queueable interfaces. On these 5 we are done. Okay. Now we are going for one more major part of the development, that is triggers. Let me place this code inside the document. Not at best. Done. Technology making the people lazy without writing anything. Okay. So as part of our development still, okay, some topics are left. Okay, let's see. Okay, first of all, we'll see what topics are left. The triggers is one, and then we have test classes. It's a small feature. It's a one-day session, and then we are having deployments. Okay, as part of deployments, we are going to be discussing about the sandboxes and what are the various types of sandboxes, how to create the sandbox, how to map the connection between the sandboxes, and how to do the deployments. We'll see it will be taking completely 2 sessions. And then you will be having a feature called as exception handling mechanism. So this is one session. And then we are having one more feature, Apex sharing. So here as part of this Apex sharing, I would like to introduce the process builder. I don't want to invoke the Apex sharing through trigger. I want to invoke through process builder. We'll see how can we implement that. We'll see. So these are the features that are left as part of this development. Okay, these are some small features we'll see. And then triggers is the major topic. Okay, we are going to be discussing today here. Let's see. It will take the 4 to 5 sessions. Okay, completely. And then this Saturday also we'll be having a lunch session. Okay. Saturday, I'm not sure. Okay. So if it is not possible on Saturday, okay, I will take up in the afternoon session, 2 o'clock. Okay, 2 to 5. So because Sunday we will be having session. Sunday we have 10:30. Because the last week I had that demo session. That's what I have cancelled at the last moment. They would have informed to the people. So this weekend, this week we'll be having the session on Saturday, 2 o'clock, 2 to 5. Okay. Because this Saturday also we have a demo session. That's what here the 10:30 will not be able to pick up your session. Now those 2 parts are there. Okay. We are having that undelete statement is there. Undelete statement I think done, right? Merge statement, upset statement. 2 statements are there. We'll see. Undelete also. Okay. Those 3 are very simple topics. So we are going to be completing the course as soon as possible so that here you should be ready for the interview process. You don't have much time. Okay. So it is to start doing the practice and start preparing for the interview process. Okay. Don't make the things pending. Now, so now let's see what exactly a trigger, what is the use, at what scenarios we can go with that trigger. And as part of this trigger, what are the various features we are going to implement? Okay, let me explain. So as part of the trigger, we'll see what exactly a trigger and what is the use, what we can do, and then how to prepare the trigger syntax. Definitely in the interview point of view, they will ask you to write the code, write the trigger syntax. Or else they will ask you to write the code, but you write the syntax of batch class. With all the 3 methods you have to write. It's a common question. Sometimes they will give you one small scenario and they will ask you to write the trigger piece of code. You have to write the code also. Okay. Now, you should be in a position to write the code by your own. Okay. So do the practice perfectly every day. Okay. Don't miss those things. Now, so now as part of this triggers, we'll see the triggers functionality, what exactly the trigger, why should we go for triggers, when should we go for workflow, when should we go for process builder, when should we go for triggers. We'll see the difference between these 3. And then trigger syntax, how to prepare the trigger. We'll see trigger execution lifecycle or trigger execution architecture also we'll see. And then we'll see the trigger events. What are the various events on which the trigger will fire? And then inside the trigger, how to write that business logic and how can we segregate the code based on that events by using trigger context variables. We are having 10 trigger context variables are available as part of trigger. Like as we are having trigger dot is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete, is after, is before, and then we have 4 more which are very important. That is trigger dot old, trigger dot new, trigger dot old map, trigger dot new map. From these 4, okay, definitely one question is common. Difference between trigger dot old and trigger dot new, or difference between trigger dot new and trigger dot new map, or trigger dot old or trigger dot old map. Okay, from this 4 context variable, okay, one question is a common question in every interview. Okay, and then sometimes they will give you a small scenario, they will ask you your solution. Okay, so this is my requirement, how can you achieve? Will you go with workflow, will you go with the process builder, will you go with trigger? If you're going with trigger, why? If you can't go with process builder or workflow, okay, you should be able to justify. Okay, you should be able to justify. You have to give the clear answer to them. Now, so as part of the triggers, we'll see types of triggers. We are having 2 types of triggers, before triggers and after triggers. We'll see both. And then we'll see the concept of trigger handler factory. How can we split the code to the various other classes to make the code reusable, to make the code generic, so that we can use that same code in different places wherever we want. And then we'll see how many ways are there in Salesforce to create the triggers. We'll see. Along with that, we'll see always trigger should be a bulkified trigger. Don't find the trigger for every record, find the trigger only once, even though you are processing bulk records also. Then how can we make the trigger bulkified? That is also called as bulkification of triggers or bulkified trigger. Trigger should be always a bulkified trigger. Okay, how to implement, we'll see practically. Along with that, we'll see the concept of trigger order of execution. How the automated rules will be getting executed. And then we'll see the concept of, okay, we'll see the concept of best practices. What are the various best practices you need to follow upon writing the triggers? These are all of the common question, even though it's a small point, also very important as part of triggers. Don't miss even a single point from triggers. Okay, Visual Force, we are having some limited topics are there, limited questions will be available. We'll be raising the questions on view state, common question. Okay, we'll be having the question on view state, definite question. View state is a common question in every interview. We'll be having with sharing, without sharing. That means user mode, system mode concept. And then action function and the action support. Okay, so these three are the common questions here in when coming to the Visual Force. Remaining questions nobody will ask. And then as part of collections is collection important, and then asynchronous programming is more important. Trigger don't can be seen in a single point also. Okay, it's a common question, it's a common functionality, and it's a functionality where exactly the 80% of the application business logic will be resides. Okay, remaining 20% will be placing inside the classes one. Now, so now let's see the triggers concept first. Now tell me, why should we go for triggers first? Why should we go for triggers? We have so many automated rules like validations, we have formulas, we have roll-up summary, and we have workflows, process builder, sharing rules, assignment rules, escalation rules, auto response rules. All these things are available. Then why should we go for it?
You can invoke trigger before the completion of operation.
Okay, right. Can't we go with validation? The validation is also filing before performing the operation.
Coming to DML operation.
Okay, right. 1 point. Next. In every feature wise, I told you some limitations. During the applications, we have given some limitation, objects limitation, fields limitation, validations limitation, workflows limitation, process builder limitations, sharing rules limitations, and then Apex sharing and then automated rules limitation. I have given the limitation everywhere. Remember those limitations. Long ago we have discussed. Right. Okay, one more point here. whenever I'm going to be creating some validation rules on an object can have maximum of 100 active validation rules. Suppose if my object is having some 400 fields, from those 400 fields, I want to make 300 fields are mandatory. I can't select the required checkbox over here. If I'm selecting the required checkbox, what is the problem? Every field will be getting visible with a red color bar symbol. If everything is looking like that, the people will get shocked. They won't use the application. Because to enter the values in all the 300 fields, it will take minimum 2 hours of time. Okay. For example, the people have spent some 2 hours of time. They have entered the data in all the 300 fields. When he is about to click on save button, okay, system has been shut down because the power has been went off, internet has been disconnected. So that your system has been shut down. After 5 minutes, when the system has been rebooted, then whenever they're going to the same page, the data will not be available, data will be lost. Again, we need to spend 2 more hours of time to enter the same data again in all the 300 fields. So I don't want to display all the fields with the red color bar symbol. I want to create some validations. Validation rules will not be providing any red color bar symbol. Okay. Then in this case, whenever I'm creating the validation rules will be up to 100 we can able to create per object, not more than that. I want to create more than 100 validation rules per an object. In this case, Salesforce won't support through configuration. At that time, we can use the help of triggers. With the help of triggers, we can able to prepare n number of validation rules also. That facility is available. We can validate that data on n number of fields also by using a single trigger itself. One single trigger is enough to validate n number of fields also. There is no limitations at all because it's purely poly part. Next limitation. Right. Whenever I'm going to be having the roll-up summary fields, how many we can have for an object? Maximum of 25, not more than that. I want more than 25 roll-up summary fields. Will it be possible? No. Then at that time we can use that triggers. Now tell me one more point please on that roll-up summary field. Give me one more point. Roll-up summary field can be applicable on what kind of association? Master detail. Assume that I'm having two objects, account and the case. What is the relation between account and case? Lookup association. Now my requirement is whenever I'm opening that account record, I want to see how many number of cases are available for this account. How many number of cases are available? I want to see that count. Do we have any facility to create that roll-up summary field between account and case? No, because it is lookup association. And lookup association, we can't apply that roll-up summary field. That will be applicable only on master detail association. Then how can we achieve this one? Any other alternative way? Can I change the association from lookup to master detail? Standard association, can I change? No. Suppose, for example, can I map custom association between those two? Custom association. I want to map my own association. Which is of type master detail between account and the case. Is it possible or not? Because I can create one roll-up summary field with the help of my master detail association. Is it possible or not? Master detail association. Standard object cannot be. Standard object should be always a parent. Whenever we are creating the master detail association, in master detail association, standard object should be always a parent object. It should not be child. But what are the two objects that I'm having account and case? Both are standard. So we can't apply master detail association so that we can't create roll-up summary. So at that time we have to use the help of triggers. This is one case. Next. Any more? Next one. Come to workflow. Workflow rules. By using workflow rules, okay, how many fields we can update? How many immediate actions we can able to add inside a workflow rule? Maximum of 40. That already we have discussed about that on the limits of workflow rule. Whenever we are creating the workflow rules, okay, an object can have maximum of 500 workflow rules, and from this, out of this 500, 50 will be in active status, not more than that. And the overall organization wide, how many workflow rules we can have? Organization wide. For an object, we can have 500 workflow rules. From out of this 500, 50 will be in active status. Organization wide, how many workflow rules we can have? 2000 workflow rules. Okay, in the entire organization wide, we can have maximum of 2000 active workflow rules. Now tell me in this case, when coming to the workflow rule, in a single workflow rule, how many immediate actions we can able to add? 40. Okay, 40 immediate actions we can able to add. So whenever I'm updating that field by using this workflow rules, how many fields we can update? Maximum 40 only, because each field update action is used to update only one field, not multiple. If we want to update 2 fields, we want to add 2 field update action. To update 10 fields, 10 field update we need to action. So that here we need to add 40 actions maximum to update 40 fields. But in some cases, my object is having some hundreds of fields are there. From there, I want to update some 100 fields. Will the workflow will support? No. At that time, we can go with the help of figures. Next. In workflow rule, in the field update, one more scenario. During that field update action, we have one more case. Cross object field update. By using that workflow rule, from where to where we can able to update that field. Child to parent. In what kind of association? Lookup or master detail. Cross object field updates can be applicable on what kind of association? Master detail. If it is a lookup, will that the workflow will support? No. If it is parent to child, will the workflow will support? No. Then what is the solution? Process builder. Okay, if the process builder is not available, then we can go with that builders also. Okay. Now that is one thing. Next one. Come to the next concept. Come to the sharing rules. Okay. We are having sharing rules functionality. Why can't we go with that sharing rules? Why do we need to go with affixer sharing especially? As part of sharing, you will be having the sharing architecture. You know the sharing architecture that already we have discussed. How many types of sharings are available? 3 types are available: manual, automated, and the affixer sharing. Then why should we go for triggers to share the record? Why can't we go with that sharing rules? Because sharing rule will take care of automatically, right, based on the condition. Because sharing rules are always firing when after insertion, after updation. Because if you want to share the record, first of all, record should be there. After only we can go, not before. If you want to share the record, first of all, record should be there. That means record has to be created first. That means after. Okay. Then, why should we go for the triggers to share the records without going with sharing rules? As part of sharing rule, there is a limitation that already you know that. Upon sharing the record by using that sharing rule, we have 2 types of sharing rules in Salesforce: owner-based, criteria-based. It may be anything, it may be owner-based or criteria-based also. We have to indicate what conditions needs to be get verified before sharing the record, and then to whom the record has to be get shared, what kind of visibility the people can have on the record. That means level of practices, whether it may be read-only or read-write. We can specify. But in this case, my requirement is I want to decide the recipient people dynamically at a time. Suppose, for example, here, come to a general scenario. Assume that I went to a shopping mall. Okay, I went to an electronical showroom, like some Bajaj Electronics, to buy some TV. Whenever I'm entering into the electronical showroom, okay, at the entry gate, there is a person is available, there is a representative. They will ask you, sir, what you want. If I say TV, then he will be indicate you. Please go to that person. He is an expert. He will be explaining all the things. If I say I want a washing machine, go to that person. He is an expert. If you say I want an AC, go to that person. That means he is going to be redirecting you. That means dynamically, depends upon the product which you want, they will decide dynamically. They will route you to that respective person, so that you can contact that person, because that is he is the primary point of contact to give the whole information about the TVs or ACs or any other products whatever they want. So in this case, whenever I am going to be sharing the record, I want to decide. Suppose upon creating the account record, if the account record industry is equals to banking, share the record to this person. He is handling all the banking customers. If the account records industry equals to finance, share the record to that person. If the account records industry equals to manufacturing, share the record to that person. She is handling all the manufacturing customers. If the account records industry is equals to some technology, share to that person. That means what depends upon the condition, I would like to decide dynamically. But sharing rule won't give this facility to you to specify the recipient people dynamically. It will be always hard coded. If the condition is matching, share the record to that person. That's it. We need to indicate. We can't decide dynamically at runtime. And that too, I want one more facility. So upon sharing that banking record to the person, okay, now I'm sharing the record to the person here. Upon sharing that, in that account record, if the annual revenue value is more than 50 lakhs, grant him with the read-write permission. If the account records annual revenue is less than 50 lakhs, share him with the read-only permission. That means what? That level of access I want to decide dynamically at runtime. The person I want to decide dynamically at runtime. But these kind of facilities will not be available inside that sharing rule. So that we can decide it through programmatically with the help of the feature called as triggers. Through triggers, we can able to achieve these functionalities here. So now whenever you are sharing the record through programmatically, we have to use a feature called as Apex sharing, which can be done with the help of triggers. Okay. So these are the various scenarios we came into the picture, okay, where exactly we have to go for triggers. Now, when you observe all these functionalities, like as your validations, formulas, roll-up summary, workflows, process builders, and then you will be having sharing rules, and then automated rules, like your Apex sharing rules, and then you will be having escalation rules, auto response rules, all these things. Some rules are firing before. What are the things? Only validation rules are firing before inserting the record, before updating the record. Remaining all are firing after. Okay, it may be because you are having the functionality of roll-up summary, and then formula, and then workflow, process builder, sharing rules, assignment rules, escalation rules, auto response rules. These are all firing after. Okay. That means what some features are having the facility to invoke before, some features are having the facility to execute after. But in this case, trigger is the only feature which is having both the capabilities. Okay, trigger is the only feature which is having both the capabilities, that trigger can able to fire on both before as well as after also. Okay, trigger can able to fire on both before as well as after. Before inserting the record, also trigger can fire. After inserting the record, also trigger can fire. Before updating the record, the trigger can fire. After updating the record, trigger can fire. Before deleting the record, trigger can fire. After deleting the record, the trigger can fire. That means trigger can able to fire on both before as well as after events also. So in this case, when coming to the trigger, what exactly the trigger basically? As of now, we have discussed so many ready-made features which are called as over-TV features in Salesforce. Over-TV features in the sense what? Over-TV features. Out-of-the-box features in Salesforce. Okay. So in every point of view, they will ask you what are the various out-of-the-box features are available in Salesforce. You can able to explain all these ready-made configuration tools, like as validations, workflows, formulas, sharing, all these things. These are all are comes under okay, out-of-the-box features, ready-made features, configurable features given by Salesforce. So when coming to the trigger, trigger is a custom Apex code. Okay, this is not a configurable feature. This is a custom Apex code which we are going to be writing by using the Apex program. As of now, just we are going to be configuring all these rules just by using the most clicks. But now this feature we have to implement through programming. By using Apex programming, we have to write some piece of code. That code we need to invoke automatically. As of now, what we did, we have prepared so many methods, so much business logic we have written inside the classes. Those classes we have executed manually by using the execute anonymous window, or by click on that button control inside the Visual Force page, or by using some scheduling mechanism over there based on some periodical intervals. But now I want to find this piece of code based on some events. Based on some events means what? Based on upon insertion or updation, deletion, or upon it may be and deletion also. Based on these events, I want to find some piece of code because I would like to do some validations. Not only simple validations, I want to do some complex validations. I want to implement like some complex transactional flows also. At that time, we can use the help of triggers. So when coming to the trigger is nothing but a custom Apex code which can be executable, okay, based on some events. Okay, which can be executable based on some event. It's a custom Apex code. That means it is a custom code which will be implementing by the developer by using the Apex programming language. So as of now, that code we are invoking manually by using execute anonymous window, but now I want to make that code to be executable automatically. Based on what? Based on not time, based on some specific events. That already told you during the workflow concept itself. If anybody asks the question, what do you mean by time trigger, then what we can explain? Time triggers in the sense what? Time triggers in the sense what? Time triggers. Time dependent action workflow rules. Okay, time triggers in the sense time dependent action workflow rules. Already told you because the people will get confused. So it is having the word time trigger. It may be trigger concept, not the triggers concept. Triggers are always firing based on event, not based on time. As part of workflow, you know how to configure immediate action workflow, how to configure time dependent action workflow rules. Those time dependent action workflow rules are called as time triggers in Salesforce. Okay, so that here, when coming to the work triggers are always firing based on some events, not based on time. There is no possibility. Okay, so in this case, when coming to the triggers are the custom Apex code which can be executable automatically based on some certain events. We can indicate that what event, on what occasion, on what event the trigger can able to fire. If the trigger has been fired, then what action you want me to do, what operation you want me to do, that operation business logic we can write inside the trigger. Okay, understood that one? Why should we go for triggers concept here, especially? Even though we are having so many configurable features, every feature is having some limitations. So to overcome those limitations, we are using the help of triggers. So when coming to the trigger is nothing but a custom Apex code. Okay, it's a custom Apex code which has been written by the developer in order to execute some certain functionalities automatically based on some event. So triggers are always firing based on some events, cannot based on time. Now, by using this trigger, what we can do with the help of the triggers, we can able to implement validations. Not simply validations, okay, we can implement complex validations also. Why? Because when you go to the validation rules can able to validate the data only at the client side, not the server side. But the triggers will be having that capability that it can able to validate the data at the server side also. That means here triggers are not sitting on top of your user interface. Triggers are sitting on top of your object in the database level. These are the business logic functionalities. So that upon creating the records, you can come up with any way trigger will fire automatically. Every record has to pass through the trigger itself. There is no chance to escape. So in this case, when coming to the triggers, triggers are purely the custom business logic which will be executing automatically based on some events. By using triggers, we can able to implement some complex validations also. Now, in this case, when you go to the validations, I would like to do the validation like as deduplication process. By using validation rules, can we introduce deduplication processes? No, there's no such possibility. Okay, but through trigger we can do that. Deduplication process means what? Duplication elimination mechanism. Okay, duplication elimination mechanism. So upon creating the record inside my object, when you click on save button, blindly it is saving the record inside the object. Whatever the values may be, it won't bother about that. Even though if I'm creating thousands of records with the same details, record will be acceptable. Now I would like to introduce the deduplication process mechanism with the help of triggers itself. And along with that, when coming to the trigger, Trigger will allow you to perform the complex business operations and the complex transactional flows also. You can implement the complex transactional flows with the help of triggers. The tool, inside the trigger it is performing, it is allowing all the operations. We can perform all the DML operations, we can perform queueable queries, relationship queries, everything we can able to achieve. That facility is available. Inside the trigger, we can able to use all the DML operations we can perform, because when you go to the workflow doesn't support all the DML operations. Okay, workflow doesn't support the DML operation, but when coming to the triggers will be supporting all the DML operations: insert, update, delete, undelete, upsert, merge. All the DML operations will be supporting with the trigger along with queueable queries also. The facility is available as part of triggers. Then how to implement the triggers, okay, as part of the Rapix programming, we'll see in tomorrow's session. Okay, in tomorrow's session, we'll see each and every fundamental basic of trigger. What is the trigger syntax, trigger execution life cycle, that means architecture, we'll see everything one by one. Okay.